everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rise and Glide podcast brought to you by Paddleboarding. My name is Maddie LeBlanc, and I'm joined here today with my co-host Holly Pye. And in this episode, we are introducing to you the one, the only, Mike Jucker. He is the founder of Stand Up Magazin and comes from a background of just always being in competitive sports. He actually grew up like snowboarding and getting into skateboarding as well. And now he lives actually in Hawaii. I think he lives on Maui. And he is just obsessed with board sports in general and being on the water. I think his recent obsession is foiling as well. He loves foiling. He loves the steep learning curve of it. But in this conversation, we had a really cool chat about exploring the future of stand-up paddleboarding, what the race scene looks like now, its organization, and how hopefully it'll evolve into the future for athletes to be able to have like a living, make a living out of it, and be able to pursue it full time, because we're just as passionate as a lot of other amateur sports, Olympic sports, other athletes. And yeah, this was just a fun conversation we had with him, eh, Holly?
It was super fun. I think it was one of the most passionate conversations I've had in a long time. I think we were all totally on the same page with a lot of things. It was so cool. Yeah, like I say, it was cool to hear his passion coming through. And also we chatted a lot about kind of journalism, his experiences with journalism and like sharing news and media in a digital age. You know, we all rely so much on our phones and computers, and this information is coming out instantly. All of the time, you know, day and night, and to hear kind of his point of view and his background as somebody who's releasing that media and how tricky it is in the digital age, I think it was really interesting. And, you know, there was a few points that I hadn't really thought of before. So yeah, it was a super cool chat from him. And yeah, we had a huge discussion about the future of stand-up paddleboarding and what it could look like, which was really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think listeners will really, I feel like, almost be transported back in time with this episode, because I love when Mike spoke about, you know, the early days of journalism and having photographs and seeing that nice big glossy photo of Connor Baxter on a wave in Maui, like surfing the Channel of Bones from Molokai to Oahu. And just looking back at a time where media was so different than what it is now, and how we do just scroll through our phones and we see an image and we might not think as much of it because it is so easily and readily available to us, and how there's some athletes like Kai Lenny who have to just keep pushing the limits and going bigger and bigger to grab people's attention still, because of how our attention spans are so different. And so I really think listeners will learn a lot about the water sports industry, what it looked like, say, in the early 90s when Mike was really getting into it, until now, and how we're at where we're at now in terms of all of it: surfing, stand-up paddleboarding. And yeah, I felt like, yeah, we could have talked to Mike for a very long time.
For sure. No, we recorded the episode, and then I think we stopped the recording, and then we continued chatting for like another hour. And
Yeah.
in the end, I think it was like 10:30 for me at night. Yeah. I was like, okay, guys, come on. We got to continue this another time. So no, it's super cool chat. And we really hope that you enjoy listening to this episode. As always, let us know what you think. And yeah, feel free to reach out to either us, Maddie, myself, or Mike. And yeah, let us know kind of your opinions on the whole thing and what you think about the future of SUP, if you agree, if you disagree, and continue the discussion. I think it's a really important conversation to have. But yeah, without further ado, let's let Mike do the talking.
We are so excited to have this guest on with us today. His name is Mike Jucker, and we personally know him as Mr. Stand Up Magazin, but I'm really excited to dive into how you really truly got to that point. But knowing more so about your background, how you got into the world of water sports, where you're based in Hawaii now, and just really diving into actually like who is the man behind Stand Up Magazine. So, Mike, welcome today to Rise and Glide.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and stoked that you guys reached out. Really nice. It shows validation to my work. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, we're so thrilled to have you here today, and there's so many topics I think we could cover, but I think to get started, we would love to know, how did you get into the world of water sports? Because we know, like, you're not just a paddling guy, you're not just a stand-up guy. So maybe walk us through.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a board sports guy. Growing up in Switzerland, I was an early adopter of skateboarding in my teenage years. So I was a really big skateboarder, and then snowboarding came along, and that really accelerated everything for me. Snowboarding, I became an early competitive snowboarder in Switzerland, like throughout the 90s. And board sports is really where it's always has been for me. Surfing kind of was, being landlocked was kind of something like the last frontier. Like I always admired the surf magazines, and there was a lot of crossovers from snowboard videos. You saw also surfing segments, and to me, as a 18, 19-year-old snowboarder, that was it. Like, oh my gosh, like just in board shorts, surfing a wave. That was the ultimate dream. And I was lucky enough to make that dream a reality when I started traveling the world and leaving Switzerland at the age of 22, and basically leaving Switzerland in the pursuit of a surfing lifestyle. And after 5 years of traveling, kind of got lucky. I ran into the love of my life in Hawaii, and we some odd years later got married and settled on Maui. And for me, it was all about surfing. So I've been in Maui since 2002, and so it was all about surfing. And then to make the transition now to the stand-up thing. So at some point, stand-up surfing came around. But I have to be very honest, as a snobby surfer in the beginning, I was like, oh, come on, what's this now? All this, like in the very early days, we saw it was all surfing, small waves, and outer reefs. And these guys, it was like within, this thing just exploded over here. And we saw within 2 summers, the numbers exponentially grew of guys are just standing around on their boards on west side of Maui, where the waves are traditionally small during summer, and this thing just exploded. And I was kind of like, come on, what the heck, And it wasn't until one summer around 2008, 9, I want to date that, where a friend of mine is like, you got to come over to the North Shore. These guys are paddling down the shore here and doing like these downwind runs. I'm like, what is that? Like, we got to go try this out. So we had a bunch of old longboard style SUPs, and we paddled out of Malika Gulch, and it was just absolutely nuking. I remember this day actually very well, because there was a rain squalls, and it was a full-on, like it was a storm day, where like you wouldn't go out sailing in this, you wouldn't go out at sea in this, but it was so exciting being in these conditions, being pushed by these little waves on the open ocean. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the solution to flat summers. We can now go and surf these open ocean swells on these boards. And then, of course, at that time, I mean, like I wasn't, like Laird Hamilton was already doing, Robbie Nash was doing it, Dave Colum, of course, was doing, all these guys were doing it, that these accomplished watermen, lifeguard watermen people, and they were prone paddle races at Moliko as well. And then SUP was integrated into this. And then again, it grew and exploded, and new boards came around. I mean, like Mark with all his SIC boards was really at the forefront, creating the perfect board for doing exactly just that, to really capitalize on the energy of those open ocean swells. And as a social person that I am, I'm like, I gotta participate, I gotta be part of this. This is so cool. And I started doing that. And it was really like it was a great workout. It was your mind is completely occupied at all times reading the bombs. I mean, like it took me multiple times until I accomplished the 9 miles dry, without falling in, because it is so technical. You constantly have to look here, to look there, what's going on, read the ocean, and hustle and chase those bombs. I mean, it was just the best. And what a good training for everything, for your arms, your abs. Like, I mean, like you're really turning into a good athlete like that. And so we just continued to do that. And it was around 2009, I came to Switzerland. And there is actually a YouTube video out there from that day where there was a freestyle festival in Zurich at the time that was very popular with skateboarding and snowboarding, but a bunch of protagonists and pioneers put on an SUP race. Actually, Eric Terrien was part of that. And I just happened to catch that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing has arrived in Europe. It was kind of like early days of social media. YouTube was barely getting started. Like we have to consider, we're also like looking back at a time where it wasn't a constant feed of 1,000 social medias. So I'm like, wow, this is here already. Unbelievable. These guys are doing it. How cool is this? So going back to Maui, wow, awesome. And just continuing this as a sport. And then just coincidentally, I got started with my friend on our Jucker Hawaii skateboard business, where we made skateboard longboards, and we started to kind of like build a website and kind of do something Hawaii based sport business. And I tell my body, we got to make SUP, we got to do SUP. This is like, this is it. This is coming to Europe, and we gotta jump on board with this, and we gotta make boards, and we gotta get paddles, and all of that. So we sourced a few products, all epoxy longboard style boards. We had some wooden paddles. Worked with a guy in Honolulu that had also access to some alloy paddles. So we sourced some products, and we got to go in 2010. We got to go to the ISPO in Munich. We were piggybacking up with a distributor that gave us space at their trade show booth. And my partner and I were standing there with skateboard longboards, balance boards, and those SUPs. And at the time, we were amongst maybe one or two exhibitors that had these big boards. And I was standing in the hallway there on this board, people walking around, they're like, what the heck is this? I remember Eric Terrien was there as well in one of the hallways with Nidecker at the time. Showcasing boards and doing some social stunts. I think one day he was standing in bone-ass freezing cold weather on an SUP in the water feature at the main entrance in front of the trade show hall. But there was no starboard, there was no Nash, there was like, at least not in Europe. Like over in Hawaii, it was very much different. And so we kind of got into this, and at the same time, we were like, how can we market our longboards to a growing audience of board sports enthusiasts? And we're like, hey, how about we create a magazine? We should do that with SUP, and then we can market our longboards and our balance boards to this new evolving group of young people that is starting. So I left in January of 2010 back to Maui with that idea. And we quickly learned two things. Number one, we could not compete with the distribution channels of Nash and Starboard that they already have established in Europe. They were established windsurf brands, they were established kite brands, they had all of that. So, and getting into the same production volume like these guys, it was pretty much impossible. And as a niche brand, that wasn't quite feasible. So this whole SCP thing lived on like maybe a season or two on a very, very small scale. But it went away eventually. And the second thing that I learned is that doing a print magazine was heck of a job and way above my head to do that. So I'm like, I can't do a print magazine. That's way too much. But how about I'll start a website? So I educated myself on the whole website thing. And it took me about 2 months of basically just filling this thing with content. I went to the beach with my wife, showing how to carry a board, how to get up when it's windy, how you pedal against the wind, how do you be on your knees. I was also very lucky because Maui was the hub. We had, like Zane, Connor, Kai, just teenagers getting into that sport. We had all the protagonists here, Robbie, Mark, Dave, that everybody was here. And in summertime, more and more people came, and it literally exploded. And here I was with all this content. And I was like, this is great. I can now show this to the growing German audience and explain that sport and share the stoke to, at this point, a sole German audience. And but this is kind of like, was 2000, and this was 2010 through about 2012-ish. Yeah, doing just all of that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a super cool history. And did you have any experience before doing like journalism, or was starting this site your first kind of writing?
No, I was at this time I was working actually in a hotel career. I came to Maui. I was like, I applied for a job. So this is this is a resort town here. This is all service oriented, hotels and restaurants. So I had a miniature career in hotel, worked myself up to like into the management. And then 2008 came. That was another catalyst. 2008 was a major financial crisis where pretty much the housing and the mortgage market in the US entirely collapsed, with a huge worldwide ripple effect. And my job was part of that ripple effect, and I got laid off. And I was very lucky because at the time, my business partner and I were just working on that idea. And I was one more time lucky because we had somebody that was investing into this business idea and said, okay, I can help you financially and you're out of a job. So I was able to have a financial backing and the time to really dive into everything I needed to know. It is not just WordPress. I taught myself like a lot of programming. I taught myself all the creative, like Photoshop, video editing. I was really deep diving into all this creative thing, and that's kind of the like more of my nature, being that type of person, and I'm a little bit of a hyper communicator. So this all really fit my personality very well. So, but no background in journalism at all.
Wow. That is so fascinating to me that I do feel like, Holly, we get the privilege to interview a lot of people who are kind of in that same position where, like, in this world of water sports, really it allows us to get creative, and it allows us to be innovative and to be in that space so that we can establish these really cool careers, or we can share our stories and our our sports that we love so much in such these like cool fun ways that, at the time are relevant to the context of what's going on. Right? Like I remember like 2010 with magazines, and the prints were kind of like a big deal. It was still like a cool thing to have like the glossy pictures in a book. I remember one actually being from like Hawaii tourism, because I was like, I want to go to Hawaii one day, and seeing that. But now the shift too to how that's changed, and how you've probably, I'm sure, over the years have had to pivot, had to continue to get creative to make it work and share your stories. Um, but yeah, wow, just like what Holly said, what a cool history though, to see like the pinnacle from the beginning of SUP to like where it is now, and how that's changed. But knowing too your board sports background, like that's fascinating. I had no idea. I did not know that you came from skateboarding and snowboarding, and how it's all just intertwined for you. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a very great opportunity, and I'm really grateful that I kind of got to professionally evolve into something that I already am. I was always kind of the guy that is like, I can't just talk about things. I have to participate in it. I need to, when I talk about something, I can only talk about it if I'm actually doing it. And I have a great passion because maybe I'm also a little bit of a wannabe athlete, like I was always, I remember when the Olukai was like, I was training up for these Olukai things, like I gotta make it like, they had like 3 sheets deep of results. And I'm like, I gotta be on that first sheet, man. So it was, and to your point, is like all the stories, the people you get in contact with. I mean, like to me, it's like the greatest, all the people that I got to interview over time, and what is their perspective, and how do they see things, and yes, that's where the difference lies a little bit between paper and digital content, because I didn't initially, as I said, I didn't start with a print magazine, but I saw a void that there was none, but the sport also did not have the the flow of content to have a monthly or a bi-monthly magazine. So I envisioned something. My dream was just to put out something like the Surfer's Journal has always been like a big inspiration to me, like timeless stories capturing moments in time that are pivotal for the sport and the culture we're in. So in 2011, I discovered A, there was no magazine, and B, I really had like these ideas and in my head, like I want to get it out. So I should have brought all my collections of my magazine, but they're actually in my office. But in 2011, I made like this teeny little magazine that was just stapled in the back, and I sent it to the Paddle Expo in Nuremberg at the time, just to see how the industry would receive it, and if I would find support in it, like would the industry support a German print magazine? And lucky, yes, we had great supporters, advertisers that helped with the print costs, and so we had that sent to the Paddle Expo. Great feedback. So I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna make a magazine. I taught myself layout programs and everything, and I put all this content together and did a biannual magazine on, yeah, just interviews and stories with people. Like I remember I had a great interview way back when with Jock Patterson, going to Germany for the first time for NAS and kind of like uh, promoting the sport of SUP, and then we were talking about that and like how that was. And I remember, I mean, at the time, mind you, I had never set foot in Germany once. I never knew anybody in person. Everybody was an email and an online contact, and Facebook was just barely there. And so I go to the boat show in 2012, and I present my first print magazine. And the people over there like, you're doing print? Really? Print is dead. I got really like, I got a lot of headwinds from the Germans there, and saying like, well, and one guy felt like this was at best like a high school newspaper kind of thing. And I'm like, screw this, screw you guys all. I'm just going to work harder. And yeah, I pulled this thing off up until, like as everybody knows by now, until last year, where the industry is really sadly no longer capable of financing a print, and the subscriber numbers are just not there. But to me, to go back to what you said, Maddie, about the stories, I always felt like there is so much great photography out there that I feel like it's wasted in the Instagram feed. I feel like a good, solid picture deserves print. It deserves a place where it can be stored. Try to find stuff from 2012 that happened in SUP. You can Google yourself crazy, but if you have a magazine in your rack and you keep them, you can pull that out and say like, oh look, this was 2012, this was 2013, and you have this great photography um, kind of stored in the time capsule. And I just think online is not doing that its justice, but unfortunately times are going a different way, and I have to go along.
Hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Where I'm from in Canada, we have a lot of people who surf the Great Lakes. And so kind of same idea. Someone, I can't remember his name, but he got really excited about the Surfer's Journal. So he made, I think it was actually called the Great Lakes Journal. And yeah, and I still have those, all those magazines, like all those prints, because it's just, I agree with you. It's timeless to look back and I don't know, maybe it's just cheesy because like same thing with books, like I'll never read like an ebook, like I have to have a physical book in my hands, but it's like I just love holding the picture and I love seeing the glossy page and I love taking a moment to actually stare at that and see like, wow, look at all those icicles on that man's beard because he just went surfing in minus
Yeah.
20, you know? And same thing I feel like with paddling and with surfing. Um I actually had a really good friend in Tahiti recently who took that really famous photo of Gabriel Medina at like the Olympics, and it was like the one where
Yeah.
he's holding like his finger up in the air, and he had just finished surfing that wave, and it went viral on the internet, like it went insane, like everybody has probably seen this photo by now, and to me, it's just like, oh, like I love that photo, but it's like I want to see it on my wall. Like I want to see it printed. I want to see it
Yeah.
enlarged and I think probably I don't know, maybe you could agree with this, Mike, too. It's just like where you are based in the world too, like in Maui and the beautiful environment that surrounds you, and I'm sure like photos that you get from that open ocean and the swells that you get to experience, like that must be incredible. That must provide you a lot of inspiration.
Yes, very, very inspirational and for sure, like it's the same thing a little bit like I want to say toe surfing is when I got here, Jaws was basically just getting started with toe surfing, and it was a very exclusive thing, and you didn't have much content. And now this place is overrun. Toe surfing is almost gone there. Everybody prone paddles, and when there's a swell, we are getting overrun with pictures. And eventually, this whole thing kind of dilutes, and because we're having such an overload of content, and actually, you can find an interview that I had with a very legendary photographer here from Maui. His name is Eric Ader, who
Okay.
was back in the 80s and 90s a huge guy in windsurfing and early days of tow and surf photographer. And I was talking to him about just that. When magazines, you wouldn't see what somebody did until the magazine came out. And then it was something special and you only saw the best content. Now people are uploading a shitload of photos and you go, okay, yes, seen this guy, seen this guy, seen this guy. And then it's not that special anymore because things are drowning out. And back to the storytelling, I have a great connection with Eric, and you really should look up that interview if you're interested in that. You'll find it somewhere deeper in the website from probably like 6, 7 years ago. But that guy's photography is really like I in fact I had my last interview in print was with Laird Hamilton, and we dialed back with him, just go back to that very first moment of SUP. And I'm just in the process of translating that interview from German back to English and sorting out all the pictures. And there's a lot of Eric Ader pictures. And there's pictures in there from that very, very first day where Larry surfed that wave in Malaya on that short paddle that he received from Dave Kalama. And so those pictures are really like they are documenting watershed moments in the history of our sport. It's like I look at these pictures and I think like it is because of this picture the three of us are now sitting here having this conversation. Think about that. It's like the spark that went off, the light that went off in one man's head that led to this snowball effect to now we are all these different federations are fighting over a sport. We're having all these discussions over all these different things, and it all started with this very one moment. And so I'm trying to keep that alive on the website. I am trying to go magazine by magazine and bring back this history and show it. Actually, I'm trying to do is like a little bit of a YouTube series on where I go and we flip together through the magazine and like, hey, remember this, this has happened then, to kind of preserve that. Because yeah, it's kind of a bummer because I can't now, what's happening now with the sport, with the whole new evolution of like subfoiling is just there, was probably like 10, 15 years ago. And it almost feels like it's the same, but we can't document that anymore on paper, which is really an unfortunate part. But
Yeah.
yeah, the storytelling is really something that is, I don't know, it must be in me, I guess.
Yeah.
It's interesting, this conversation, because I was actually listening to a separate podcast a week or so ago, that Kai and Ridge Lenny were chatting about, and obviously I don't think do much paddleboarding anymore, but they were chatting just about surfing, and Kai was saying, you know, he's arguably one of the best watermen on the planet. But he was saying, you know, back in the day when something was in a magazine, he would do a cool trick on a wave and someone would take a photo and people would look at that for a long time. You know, people would put it on their wall, or you sit and you show it to your friend and you sit there for a few minutes and you look at it. Now he does these incredible things and people just scroll. They maybe glance at it, but they're not that impressed anymore. You know, to capture the attention of somebody, he has to do something not just crazy, but like a totally different level of crazy. And he was saying, like, how much more can I do to get people's attention? Because now, you know, everyone comments on it, and you see people just aren't as impressed as they used to be, because there's also 10 other photos very, very similar. But you know, in his world and in the surfing world, it's not something easy to do. But the keyboard warriors think it's easy because they've seen 10 photos the same day that look exactly the same. So yeah, interesting point.
Well, but this is a whole different podcast, because from here we can really go into, yes, what I mean, like you can, now you can only imagine a guy like this, you know. So here you are, you're trying, and now you're in the sea, and this is what I like meant earlier. Like you have a big day at Jaws, and yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, Kai had another wave, great, thank you. Oh, Zane got cleaned up, okay, nice. This guy did this guy did this, okay, cool, cool, cool. You know what? I might as well go surf myself. Like done, you know. And then next thing is like I already forgot about it. And now think about it, but this, I don't know if this is the direction we want to go with this, but think about this, what this does to someone, you know, like how you're, the pressure that puts on you, you know, and you constantly have to put out content. I mean, like you guys are content creators, I'm a content creator. Like I like my Instagram feed is like, I don't know what to post anymore. It's like I can't post every day something. Now you got to put it on YouTube. It's like you got to go put stuff on YouTube, because if you don't constantly post, the algorithms are gonna they're gonna ignore you, and your stuff is not on top, and you're constantly, and it is like no wonder people are burning out like this, and we were having like problems with burnout and depression syndromes, because it's always you have to, and I swear it's like you kind of have to step back, because and here comes maybe the old guy in me is now is like, maybe in Kai's case, yes, the money's coming from there, but like in my case, uh, there's a little money coming from that, but I'm certainly not living off of this. So, and I have kids, another priority. So you kind of always, you have to put this stuff into context, but at least for me. But yes, if you're a guy and this is your sole career, or you are like a pro surfer and this is, you're constantly running after content, this can be really, really, really hard.
Yeah,
But I don't know,
Mm.
that's a side note.
you know what? No, I'm so glad actually you brought that up, because one of the questions I really wanted to ask you today was like, how do you find that balance for being someone who is like a news, social media outlet, you're trying to interview, like I saw you running around at Worlds. Like I saw you in Sarasota going from here to there. And like, I think the distance race, I remember like watching the video was so funny because you started on the land and you were like, man, I can't get on a boat. This kind of sucks, but I'm just gonna videotape what I can. And then later on you were like, okay, I got on a boat. We're here. And now I get to follow the guys. So like, I guess, yeah, in general, how do you find that balance between obviously wanting to capture and share the stories that you do find intriguing that hopefully break through the noise that we do experience on social media, and also staying grounded to like other priorities like you said that you have, because yeah, you have kids, you have family, like how do you manage all of
Well,
that?
to the Sarasota part is yes. So I traveled at my own cost there, and I was giving it my all. Like after sunset, I went straight back into the hotel room and I was editing this stuff till like I was barely functioning on my computer. But I was doing this. This was for me. It was a little bit of an investment. So number one, I saw, and then we're going to go to the balance. I haven't forgotten about that. But there, it was like, so I'm doing this. I wanna do this as an investment. I want to show what's possible because nobody's really YouTubing from Sarasota. I see personally a a big need for communicating and telling better stories from a World SUP championships like this. I mean, the live cast was great, but there was definitely things that they needs to be done different and tell more stories and get more into the characters of people. And I mean, the beach interviews was a disaster. I'm sorry to say that has nothing to do with the people that did the interview, but it has to do with the whole setup and everything was like, it was just so makeshift, everything. So I was like, okay, I want to go there. I want to YouTube every day. I want to do a recap because there was never a recap from anybody other than myself. I'm going to throw it on YouTube and I'm going to see what the feedback is. How many people are watching it on YouTube? Which you can go look at the numbers yourself. They're, in my opinion, not really good. That can either have to do with either I don't have enough reach or people are not interested. One or the other. I don't know. That's hard to say. Maybe a little bit of both. And secondly, I kind of wanted to show the ICF that um, this can be done. It can be done better. And there's a person that has the energy and the willingness to do it. Hoping that this is going to bring me to Abu Dhabi in 2025. Well, so far, I haven't gone very far with this, unfortunately. And right now, it doesn't look like I'm going to be going there, which is very unfortunate because I really would like to go there. So now the question is, where do you find the balance and why are you putting all this energy in all to this? So number one is the lucky thing is that I have so much energy that I don't know where to put it, that I'm pretty much from sun up to sundown. I'm doing something somewhere. I never sit around. That's just like, I'm definitely an ADD person. So that already helps. I need to get stuff done. I want to get it done, but I live in different worlds. I have here a hotel job that I work casually. I work 3 evenings a week. And then also I am still doing great. I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm paddling, frankly, more often with a foil underneath than without a foil. Uh, I'm now in this great journey of learning how to parawing, and I'm documenting that along with it. So I love learning new stuff. So now I'm doing this and I'm documenting it along with it. So this is just who I am. So I feel like I don't necessarily need a balance because that's just how I run. But really the unfortunate part is that this is not going anywhere financially. Like that I cannot like back in 2010. So let's wind back a little bit. I was a snowboarder and everybody was like, this is never going to get Olympic. Forget it. We were a counterculture. And it was like, hate the skiers. And this is a counterculture. And it went Olympic. And I have friends from that time who made a great career in this as filmmakers, as uh, uh, Olympic medalists, and as pro snowboarders. But I was like, screw this. This is never going to happen. But it did. And I saw the same thing with SUP. And that was also like the spark of it. It was like, you know what, this could be also a moneymaker because everybody was like, this is the next windsurfing. And if you talk to old timer windsurfers here, like the guys that are like in their 60s and 70s that lived in the 80s and the 90s, and there's a great documentary you should watch about Hoyle Schweitzer who made windsurfing big, Zane's granddad. And these people made money hand over fist. They all became millionaires. Like all of these guys, they all became absolute millionaires. And everybody said SUP's going to be the same. So here's me thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have 100,000 subscribers, and I'm gonna have a million copies in circulation, you know, which like the German Surf magazine, which still exists to this day. At one point, I think had 1 million subscribers in one country, in one language. So let's not just forget about this. So and for me, back to the balance and back to maybe what's a little bit of imbalance is just the lack of the financial I don't need to get rich, by the way, but just the lack of the financial support, you know. And this is why I'm like, I continue to fight for or to advocate for like all these pro athletes, like all these young cool guys, like for example Duna and everybody. They all have jobs, you know. They all pull out. They all go like, yes, we have such great athletes, such great newcomers. And eventually, they're all gonna have to pull out because the support system is not there. Like I can only do what I do if somebody supports me, so I can support somebody else. Like everything I ever did, I made money with this, and I still do make money. But where does it go? I bought at ICF. I went to all the Battle of the Paddles. I do all the channel crossings here, so I travel around to do and feel like this way I give back to the sport. I don't need to go buy a car or buy a bigger house. It's like I'm happy with what I have. I just want to go do more of that. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, even that is in question. And unfortunately, that's the unfortunate imbalance that I'm balancing out, yeah, with a hotel job.
So where do you think the answer is with that kind of the lack of financial support? Is it from kind of the brands in the industry? Is it from external sponsorship towards some of those athletes you mentioned about like Duna and some of the others? Where do you think, or yeah, do you have any opinions on what needs to change?
I have a lot of opinions, uh, and and I've read about them sometimes, and sometimes I don't. I think before we have to know where we are before we have to look into the past. And yes, we've had the glory days of SUP was definitely when beach racing in California was on. But we must not forget those were gold rush days where everybody was investing into the sport with a certain outcome. I mean, like Rainbow Sandals was sponsoring the Battle of the Paddle. Then this media group came that put SUP the Mag out, and they put in a lot of money. Tristan Boxford came with his Waterman League and his APP that we all, which is like evident now that he had an outside investor that pays for this all. Then we had then it got also much easier to make SUPs. Then we had all the China productions, and now we have all these OEMs where you don't really need to innovate. You can just basically make a product, slap your logo on it, and tell a story along with it, and now all of a sudden you are part of the gang, so to speak. And that, of course, led to more and more people doing seeing this opportunity. Of course, the sport was growing, participation was growing. People are buying inflatables. We have a lot of hobby recreational paddlers. So this is all growing, and everybody was coming from underneath in the wake of it. And I think what happened was COVID kind of blew what was already kind of a little bit of a bubble, blew that bubble one more time up because now everybody's really buying toys, and I've saw this on my own. We saw balance boards and skateboard longboards like no tomorrow. And then this whole thing, once COVID it was over, this all went over a cliff. So I spoke to people at the boat show that are sitting on container loads of inflatables. 5-digit number inflatables that are sitting there. They're not going. That is just not turning. We had big box stores jumping on with 299 euro boards plus paddle, which diluted the price. And then, but yes, of course, the counter argument is it brought a lot of thousands of people were brought onto a board. And if we take a conversion rate that is even like a percentage that really goes into active SUP, if we have a conversion rate like this, it should be enough to support the sport. But we also have that so far actually happens because I mean, look, the people are racing. I mean, Barcelona, the Lake Rocks Festival, all these festivals that people want to paddle, people go. They're just, I guess, people are just not buying enough boards, maybe. Those hard boards are very expensive, and once you have one, I think you kind of have one for a while. It's like a mountain bike; you don't need to change it every year. But they keep continuing every year. There's new boards. It's like, why do we need to have a new board every year?
Hmm.
But that's like a windsurfing thing, like, or in snowboarding too. In snowboarding was like if you were snowboarding in summer in the snowboard camp and you already had next year's model that nobody could have, but you had the connection, you were the it person, right? And this is kind of like with windsurfing and all this something too. It's like, why are these companies already in summer of 25 releasing 2026 gear? That's just insane. So there has a lot. So there are a lot of mistakes that the windsurf industry has made are being made again. So had that, then yes, particularly in California, in Hawaii, the foil killed off SUP.
Hmm.
Nobody wants to slowly chase things anymore because now you can go. I mean, like I shit you not, I'm doing 36 miles an hour on top speed out in the open ocean on a foil. It is hard to argue against that. So particularly when you live in a environment like this. So that's kind of like the global environment that we are in. We can compare this all of oh yeah, and on top of it we have no outside companies that are saying, like, we have no car company, no energy company, no insurance company, no company that runs around with making annual revenues in the billions that says, like, yeah, sure, we're going to throw 2 millions at this sport. It's growing, it's a good audience, it's a great image. We're doing that. Nobody does that. No beer company. All of these big sponsors that you see on other sports, not doing it. So that's where the money is. The money is not with Starboard. It's not with NSP. It's not with the industry related. Maybe a few $100 there, or a few $1,000s there, or maybe a free board. Sustaining a full sport needs more than just a bunch of, like, if you want to have a full sport, it's not a bunch of hobbyists who do it. And I'm a hobbyist myself because I'm not living off of this. Therefore, I'm not really 100% a professional because I'm supporting myself with other projects. So we can go to the WSL. I'm knee deep in the surf world. My kids are competitive surfers, and this whole island here evidently is all into surfing. And the surf world, the WSL, is living off of the dime of a billionaire couple. There is somebody behind. There is a person who owns the entire sport. I mean, wrap that around your brain once. There is one person that owns a sport, that owns a professional league sport. And right now, and this sounds really far out, but I'm a big believer. The only way we have, and other people will say you're insane because now you're, because I'm a big fan of for pro athletes, and I really would love to see them have a life. I love watching, character building. I love when like all, particularly women's SUP racing is the greatest the last few years. I mean, like, all like Mary Carmen, Tuna, Espe, when are they going back together? I want them to see race all year round, at least 6 times. Where I'm like, oh, next year, what's going to happen there? Kind of like watching a sitcom or a drama on TV. What's the next season? But
Hmm.
that's not happening because these people are paddling all over, and it's not always the same competition. So I would be a big fan of creating like what the WSL does. You give pro athletes have a life. They're not shutting out the amateurs, not shutting out the 60-year-old guys, not at all. Everybody can still paddle together, but the sport lacks structure, and the sport lacks the communication, the storytelling, the the repetitiveness of like following an athlete through the year. Oh, what's Espe doing when she's not paddling? What's Luna up to? Or what you know what Alba? I saw it the other day. Alba is also foiling. Oh, cool, good story here. You know, like who are these people now? They all go to come together. I can't wait for May when everybody goes through Spain and we have pretty much 6 weekends in a row, and I know everybody will be there, well, except for me, because I am too far away, but it's going to be great.
I can't
And
wait for May too. I'm very
yeah,
excited.
so now you needed somebody in a perfect world. Let's say, for example, tomorrow I win the billions, right? So I have unlimited funds. Now you need to create a platform where you communicate all of that. You're going to have to bring this all together in one ranking system. And you need to ensure that all these people get a decent prize money. And what do you think would happen if all of a sudden there is somebody and says, like, the winner of this race gets $25,000? Each race would have a $25,000 prize money over six races. Imagine you could make $150,000 in that 1 month. How many people? It would change. I mean, I'm sorry. Yes, money buys stuff and money can change things. I'm not a big fan of that, but that's the way it works. Imagine how many people would show up. All of a sudden, it would create a buzz. And these people were like, oh shit, I can actually live off of this. Right? And now you can create something where the first three, say the first, I don't know how, I'm just putting out a number. Say the first 10 people can really have a decent life off of that. Now what that creates is everybody from underneath this go like all the tune is like, if I go do this, I can be like that person and I can actually make real money. And now all of a sudden, this will suck in the crowds and it will create this following effect that people are like, wow, there is a path to, I can join this league and I can be now in this price class where I can actually walk out and I can buy a house with this. I can save money for my future. And now all of a sudden, there is a future in the sport. But as sorry as I am, without money, it's not going to happen. And I really don't know where that kind of money would come from, other from somebody who says we're going to pound something out of the ground, just like the WSL does, and we are replicating just that. We're talking like the TV. Do you guys watch WSL? You should.
I love it. Oh, I love
Their TV
WSL.
production, isn't it great? You have got, that's what I saw, like at the ICF. Like I like Mathieu and Elizabeth were great, but they need to sit in front of the camera, not behind. Right? They need to be a studio with the people talking, and then you need one or two beach commentators, and it's bouncing back and forth. And when the day is over, you're going to put together a recap,
Yeah,
and
I think
you're going to do a pre and a post. But that's all money. That's all money based.
yeah, absolutely.
And so back to the core of this whole thing is I don't really know what the answer is and where that money would come from that would put the sport up onto a level where now maybe the bank or the insurance or the energy drink says like, wow, look at this show.
Mhm.
And let me, it has been tried, right? Like if you actually think about it, the APP did just that. The APP's media production was exactly just that, creating all this buzz and this excitement. I mean, it was the best production there is in our sport. But sadly, it failed on so many other levels that, it dates all the way back to Turtle Bay, So, but the formula is there. It's just the question is like, who injects the money?
Like it wouldn't necessarily solve the problem, but it would be helpful if there's so many events and so many organizations, if they all pulled together and just made one big, I guess, series or and like pulled all of their resources into one container, you know,
Yeah.
one media stream for this one series of events. The athletes would just have to do these set events. They're not spread over like 25, 30 events a year. And yeah, all the media resources would be that much better because the money is being piled into one pot rather than spread so thinly between ICF and ISA and Eurotour and APP and all the individual events. And yeah, it goes on and on.
Yeah, that's the one thing, you know, like we roll back maybe 10 years, you know, the ISA with the first event in Peru in 2012. So great. ISA came to the sport very early. That was all very promising. But and we can go all, you know, like that. There's a little bit that the unfortunate part is like when you've done for something for so long, right? I started to detect like certain patterns and promises that are being made over time. And it just, and I'm very open about this. It just, you can just go and read what I've written when this European SUP League came out. You know, like, are you kidding me? Another great promise, another big punchlines with big things. We heard that so many times from, you know, like from everybody. We like, and then today, by the way, just breaking news: the ICF abandoned that whole one class design thing for the juniors. It's not going to happen.
Really?
So that just broke. I just put that out before our thing. I was really fast. Luckily, I had to catch that. So and this happens over and over again. These kind of things, and I'm like, can we first do the great thing and then talk about it? I feel like we're living in a world of constant over promises and under deliveries. And the APP was the number one pro at that, always constantly over promising. The ISA was sort of kind of not far from it. You know, the ICF started very great, and I feel like it's now it's kind of going down. It's kind of it's losing the excitement that like I've seen from, and it was China and Hungary a little bit. And now we have the European Surfing Federation is now wants also to do a league. I'm like, well, thanks a lot, because I get a lot of stuff to write about it, and there's a lot of controversial things about it, and people like to talk controversial. So it's good for clicks, no doubt. But is it going to bring us anywhere forward? I don't know, my dears. I really don't know. And one thing is here: if anybody, if it's any athlete listening, it's like we need to have the athlete. Not me. I'm not the guy. We need the people who are going to these races, and the athletes need to come together. It's like we unionize, just like auto workers or Starbucks workers or whatever. Like we are unionizing. We're going to put our foot down. We want to have the race course has to be like this, and otherwise we're not going. You know, kind of like that. It's like I don't go if I mean, like, who holds a technical race for 5 kilometers? Like what is that? You know? So the athletes need to say no. It has to be this. This is our rules. This is our sport. But that has been tried as well. And what happens? Nothing. But I
Yeah,
get
I
to
definitely
document it
think
all.
there's a lot of layers for sure, and a lot of things that for the future of SUP, I hope definitely get resolved for sure, so that the sport can continue to flourish and grow and accelerate. Because essentially, at the end of the day, I mean, all three of us can agree sitting here that we just do it because we do love it. Like, it's a sport that brings us so much joy. It brings us so much community and culture and just good vibes. And so it's something that for sure, hopefully, we do see a bit of a brighter future ahead. But I'm curious for you, Mike, and specifically Stand Up Magazine. Um, what does the future hold for you? Like, what are some goals that you have with your brand? The stories that you want to feature? Because I mean, like you mentioned earlier, being based in Hawaii and seeing the growth of foiling, are you going to be a little more focused on that now? Like, are you going to be kind of trying to cover those sorts of stories, or that world that's starting to explode? Or do you think will stand up always kind of be something that you want to keep an eye on, even though you can't come to Europe or Abu Dhabi?
later in the year.
Well, first, I can sail into the sunset with this thing because I don't financially depend on it. And as I said, I have enough time to do it. And I have my hotel job where that in the evening where I have easy 3 hours where is absolutely nothing happening. So I will and can do this. Uh, I'm very stubborn. I will sail into my death with this if I have to, because
Love that.
I'm kind of like I show up at the party first and I leave the party last. So that's kind of like where I'm at. Where am
Okay.
I going with this in particular? Always, my passion is always with the SUP racing because it's just like watching, it's just like watching a soap. You can't stop watching. And I love how like people are coming and people are going, and we have like now all these these this new generation of paddlers that shows up, and I was like, I love uh, I love the stories and watching racing. And yes, it's not an ocean sport anymore, but you know what, I thought in Sarasota these tech races were awesome. The long distance race was great. I love watching this racing. I want more of this racing. I want more elite races, and I will follow very closely to all these races. I love statistics and I love comparing how do these athletes do. So there's a lot of cool content that I personally enjoy following it. Absolutely. As a business, I am definitely, and from a personal passionate view, definitely more on the wing foiling and on the foiling side. But to me, this is all one and the same. This is all the same characters, some more, some less. It's the same industry, some more, some less. So to me, one doesn't exclude the other. We have a lot of SUP athletes that are foiling, and a lot of foil athletes SUP. A lot of foil athletes come from SUP. So this is, to me, this is not separated. To me, this is a one big awesome family that enjoys to be in the water, sometimes propelled by a paddle, sometimes propelled by wind, and I see that like I do everything. I love everything, and I love to talk about everything. So I want to be with the Stand Up Magazine. I want to be an overall water sports magazine that concentrates on those water sports. And what subfoiling will enter the flat water space. It already does, and it already has entered the sub space. Like first, everybody was like, now, oh, in Barcelona, they're going to do it. The Sub Spring race, that's this weekend, they're going to do a foil thing. Awesome, you guys. Way to go. Great. So no, so this is all going to come together under one, financially, businessly. I have a little bit of a plead here. I need financial support, and I am working on a subscription model. I'm not going to put a paywall on the website, but I am, if I could reach, if half of our sub community would go to my website and contribute like $20 a year, that runs annually. And if I had that, if I had 1,000 people just doing $20 a year, I'd be coming to Abu Dhabi on my own cost again. It's like kind of like a GoFundMe thing. Please, people, allow me to do my work and show your appreciation with a little bit of money. Clicks are good and all, but they don't pay bills. Okay, so this is what I'm pushing now. I have a subscription model for small businesses that want to promote their small business for very little money, just $150. Or you can put a pin on a spot finder where if you have a sub school or a rental or a shop, you can place a pin on a map, and that costs you $34 a year. That's like $2 a month. How is that? That can't be too much asked for. That's coffee money. So, but if everybody will participate in that, I think I can really put I'm not going to buy a car, but it will buy me time. Maybe I can go to Abu Dhabi, or I can maybe come to Europe in May and go cover a race, and I can put back. So this is my big goal here for the next years, that to push everybody, including the two of you, in there and click that subscribe button and help just a little. I just talked to Stab Magazine over a surf thing. If you're familiar with Stab, they have 20,000 paid subscribers.
That's cool. I
Wow.
love
So
Stab too. Stab is such a cool
imagine,
magazine.
yeah, totally. So imagine I had 20,000 people that would buy a Stab level subscriptions. I'd have 250,000. What do you think would happen with that? Still not a house. I'd sponsor a race. I'd do something like this because that's my passion, and I'd fly to Europe and let's make the 6 month in Europe. By the way, just for shits and giggles, I declared my own tour over those 6 months. If you haven't seen it, I declared the Super SUP Euro Spring Tour.
The
And
Super
I am
Jucker tour.
exactly just as a little bit of a cynical, satirical kind of thing, because nowadays anybody can declare a tour, anybody can declare a league, it's a free for all, it's a jungle out there. So you know what, this is like, fuck it. The entire SUP season of 2025 pretty much condenses into the month of May. So I start with the Paddle of Hercules. That's where I start. And I'm going to keep tally because that's what I love doing. I'm going to keep a spreadsheet of all the racers, and I'm going to tally up because there's all prize money too. And I'm going to see at the end of by the time we have arrived in Austria, then we're going to see who made the most money and who's the winner of this tour. Because frankly, after Austria, there is really not that much more left in the SUP season, other than maybe the Baltic Planet SUP and then a few fragments in the one. But everybody, all the big names will go home and will move on with whatever they're doing otherwise. So to me, the month of May, so I'm like, hey, I'm declaring this. Now imagine we had all these subscribers, what we could do then. Then we could say like, oh, let's make this a little more interesting. Let's make the Stand Up Magazine SUP Cup. And the winner of these 6 races that I declare over who gets the most points will throw another $5,000 prize money into that. You could start getting you could do really funny things. And if there's a billionaire out there listening, talk to me. I have the entire plan and concept. It's all in here.
It's not
We
just
just have to
the
do it.
brainstorming session, it's and not just the dreaming, it's the future.
The plan.
You heard it, folks. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I have a popcorn brain, and and I have ideas, but sadly, not all ideas can be made just out of thin air. Some ideas just need simple investments. So we'll just keep going and see where it goes. And like, I also like to hold people accountable. So we'll see. I'm actually still waiting on a reply from the European SUP League, where they're gonna hopefully explain to us how this is all gonna make sense.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, so I do what I do. I enjoy it. You will see me finally succeeding on the parrowing. Then you got to watch YouTube for that, and my
I've
website.
just ordered one.
Yeah, cool, good for you, Stoke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward
good
to.
conditions where you live?
Yeah, really good. I live in South Devon in England.
Okay.
So yeah, windy, waves, good downwind. Yeah, should be. I'm excited. I think the learning curve from winging to the power wing is probably going to be super steep.
I love it, Holly.
It's going to be fun.
One of England's premier SUP athlete here, multi-sport water woman athlete. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Do it all, not just one. Do it all, depending what the conditions are. You choose your craft. You go SUP racing. I mean, huge, great workout, SUP racing. Everything complements each other, and so this is where this thing comes together.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Holly, that's awesome.
Thanks. No, it definitely. I think mentally they all complement each other. SUP racing is like pure fitness, especially now. A lot of the races are on flatter water. The other sports like foiling, winging, SUP foiling, whatever, I think they really complement SUP racing in the ocean because you're reading the water so much quicker. I was saying this to Maddie last week, actually. But the SUP racing complements the other sports because your level of fitness is so high. Because SUP racing is really good fitness, and Maddie is just learning to SUP foil too. She was telling me all about it. She had her first SUP foil session, so we've got to give her some more tips.
Yes, because it's addicting. It's so fun. I'm not an expert, like literally not at all, but so far from it. But it's fun for sure.
So
Yeah.
do you live by the Great Lakes then, Maddie?
I do. Right now, I'm currently in Florida. Like I train here for my off season because it's warm and it's very cold back at home in Canada. But yes, where I live in Canada, I'm right in between Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. So I have access to a lot of fresh water. And we do have surf. We do have waves there, but it really only comes in the colder months because we need a lot of wind. All of our swell, it's produced by the wind. So we need uh lots of low pressure systems, lots of cold air and cold water, but
Yeah.
it's fun and I love what I get to paddle and surf in when I am at home. But yeah, for pure just like fitness and training outside of that, it's like being here in Florida has helped me a lot. And I paddle with Kim Barnes and Steve Bernstein, Stephanie Schidler, like all these
Oh,
really good
nice.
paddlers here that continue to help push me. So I love it. I love where I get to be right now.
And will we see you ladies in the SUP Summer Spring Tour in Europe, the two of you? What's your guys' plan?
I'm definitely going to do some, but I'm not 100% sure yet which events I'm going to do. Um, I'm a bit sad that they're all so close together because I get, I just, well, I don't know, a lot of people probably do get super tired, but definitely having the races just back to back to back to back to back to
It's a
back
big one.
it's super tiring. Yeah. And so I'm kind of, and also cost as well, to be traveling for that long is like not sustainable. So yeah, I'm picking and choosing my events this year. I definitely want to go and also just catch up with friends. Like it's such a good social time.
It's
But
such a great
I think I'm
family.
going to go to Barcelona for sure. And the others, maybe I'll do one or two others as well, but I don't know yet which ones. But I think Maddie is doing a few, right?
Yeah, so I actually explained to Holly, like, I think a few weeks ago that my original plan was just to go to the 3 stops on the Euro Tour in Spain. Because I am coming from Canada, and so to fly to Europe, I mean, it's so expensive. And so I figured I was like, well, I don't just want to go for one event. Like if I'm gonna go, I might as well stay for that month because I'm there. I spent all the money to get over there, so I might as well stay. Um, but just last week, I was invited to Battle of the Hercules and also, oh, what's the other one? It's the weekend after that. It's in
Lake
Melilla.
Rocks.
Melinda,
Oh,
the Spanish, the one in the Triple S
Triple
Festival.
S.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I talked to the one of the organizers yesterday, and so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm coming. So I'm just kind of expanding my Spain trip a little bit longer, but yeah, as Holly mentioned, like it's hard, it's hard to fund it. It's hard logistically. Like yesterday, I was on the phone with Air Canada for like an hour to just make sure that my paddleboard is going to get on the plane to get over there. So yeah, it's tough for sure in this sport in this world. But I mean, I don't know. I hope that one day, like Holly and I, we can look back and be like, okay, yeah, we were the athletes that were kind of the pioneers that, we did a lot of this hard work and we kind of, you know, laid the foundations, I guess, for hopefully a new generation to come behind us and continue to grow our passion and our sport and our community. But I don't know. We'll see.
Look, it sounds like we have to crowdfund this whole thing. I just had this idea. So yes, you're saying exactly this. Hard to fund, okay? So again, back to the subscription and the stat model. Imagine you had like some association, doesn't have to be like me right now, but imagine you had an association where everybody chipped in $100, and we say we get 1,000 people to chip in $100. Voila, we have the money, you
Hmm.
know? So really, we could actually, if there's got to be 1,000 people worldwide that would be like saying that are actively invested enough to say like, I can do an annual $100,000 contribution in order to get an XYZ result out of this. So so somebody then to put this all into place, to buy the time and the resources, but this, it's, you could crowdfund this, and again, like in my case, I'm working on a subscription model, and hopefully this is successful. So I can put more of myself, insert myself more into back into the sport, and selling the sport, and tell the story. So it's actually kind of doable. It's just, I think there's just another thing I've seen over the years. There's just too much self-interest. Oh, there's too much self-interest with big promises, and then this all fizzles away. And we can do another whole podcast on failed ideas and failed promises, with self-interest. But you have to think of the greater good, and maybe not necessarily just from, I have to make money out of this, but I have to put it has to be some sort of a non-profit.
Mm.
Yes, the people who are working on it, they have to pay their bills with something, and that would have to be, but you can't go and enrich yourself. It would have to be some sort of a selfless federation that is solely for non-profit. And then Holly could go 6 weeks, or we could say like, okay, instead of we could spread this thing out. I mean, like, imagine we have the entire South American continent is just sitting there, and all we know is that they have some sort of an aloha tour there, an aloha spirit tour. Imagine you could put that into, or this great event in Sayulita, in Mexico. Imagine you could put all these events, kind of like, you could string them together and really get the same people plus the locals all get together and do this, and really have a season where you have, I mean, the WSL has, how many stops they have? I don't know. They don't have that many either. I mean, like, they were in Portugal, now they're in El Salvador.
Mhm.
So they have like they have Hawaii leg, then they have an Australia leg, then they have the El Salvador leg, and then they're gonna go to Brazil and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then eventually they end up with the finals in California and Trussels.
Mhm.
So you could string something like this together, and then we could make sure that Maddie's Sport doesn't have to be flown all over the place. The exact replica of Maddie's Sport is available in Brazil, and then it's in Mexico,
Mhm.
and then you have, so that can all be done. It's just a matter of the willingness and the resources.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
One
doable.
day.
That's the one thing, is like, the one thing that always surprised me in this whole structural sports thing is like, it's all, we see the same structure: golf, tennis, soccer, whatever, rugby, you name it. The structure is there. Nobody has yet replicated exactly what's going on in other sports
Mm.
with some. But it's already there. The whole thing. We're not reinventing a wheel here. We are just applying what's already existing to our sport, and maybe tweak it a little bit. And yes, the logistics are a problem. I get it. It's not a tennis racket in your hand luggage, but the Formula One is traveling around too.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Funny story. I actually had a stand-up paddleboarding race last year or the year before in Montreal during the same time as an F1 race. So it was all happening on the island,
yeah,
and we were like, oh my God, traffic was like insane. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this would be so cool though if this traffic was coming to our paddle race. If they weren't just all going to F1. But yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. You're totally right.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I'm here to tell the story, and I will tell the story all the way to the end. And who knows what's next? But I'm excited because it's the great unknown, right? We never know what's next, what's coming next. So it keeps things interesting. We have things to be happy about. We have things to rant about. And so I'm definitely going to be here with all of that. For
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Do you know what I think we should do? We should do a separate podcast episode in a few weeks' time after the special tour through Spain, as like a recap and a debrief to to chat
Yeah.
about the dramas, the soapbox dramas, and the series that went on.
That would be so
Yeah,
much fun.
sadly, I won't be there to see and document if there was any buoy turn drama, other race course discrepancies.
Sarasota
Um,
2.0.
yeah, yeah, but I will keep tabs on race results and see what the participation levels are. Always interesting to see, how many people are there, who's going there. One thing that I really miss actually is like back in the day we had Chris Parker. He was so good in creating this
Yeah, SUP
pre-race
racer.
anticipation. And in fact I asked the guys from the SUP Spring race to send me a participation list prior to the race, because that's something I would like to do, is like, oh, who is going? Now we can compare to like this. To me, this is another great thing. Like, and maybe the people in Barcelona and everybody else will do it, or when we know who's there, to create this excitement again prior to the race. Oh, there's going to be a rematch between Alba and Duna, or who's going to beat Espe this year? To me, that's what's like, who is going to be the one that beats Espe in this one season? That's why it's like a lot. Women's up racing is just the greatest right now. Like who's going to beat Espe? Oh, Duna beat her in this race, so she beat her one race of the season. Can she do it again? And you bring that pre-race excitement race ride-ups again, so you have something to anticipate. Right now, sadly, we don't see that because race organizers are very busy organizing, and they lack a PR person, and they lack the communication resources because they're so busy with other things. But it would be great to have participation lists of all of those, so we could kind of and then exactly then have a debrief. It comes June and say like, so was it what we thought it was? Was it more? Was it less? And so on. Yeah, we can podcast here like once a week. We never run out of things. I never run out of things to talk about.
Well, it's been so great to hear all about your ideas for the future, and what's going on now, what happened in the past, and what should change and could change in the future. It's definitely a really interesting topic, and if anybody who's listening has any thoughts, it would be great to hear them too. We could probably chat forever on the future of SUP. I think it's a never-ending topic. If anybody has any thoughts and they want to reach out to you and as part of Stand Up Magazine as well, where's the best place for them to do that? Is it on social media? Is it through your website? What's the best way to contact you?
Well, like, let's put it this way: if you don't know how to find me, then I made a mistake.
That's true.
It's response, I think.
But yes, you can reach Instagram, Facebook, email, website, comments on YouTube, and mostly, like, show engagement. Like, you want this thing to go forward. We all need to engage more with one another's content. We need to, like, really, like, it's also funny. It's like, if I maybe, like, from the bottom of my heart, sometimes, like, I sit here and I do my thing. And unfortunately, because of my geographical location, I don't really get a lot out. But when I do, like going to Sarasota was for me also just such a heartwarming thing, because like I see all these people, it's like, oh, they do read my stuff. Okay. I go to the boat show. Oh, they do things, because interestingly enough, people only come like, so I'm sorry, I'll keep talking. One more thing here. It's just, so in Germany, for example, right now, the German Canoe Association decided that everybody has to get a SUP race pass, which means you have to, if any race that you're going to participate that is come from the Canoe Association, you have to be going through some sort of a doping thing and do a doping class for anybody. So I posted that. It created a discussion on Facebook. I posted another news article about the discussion, the pros and cons. And I guess who's coming and knocking on my door? The Canoe Association. oh, you should have reached out. Why didn't you? We could have said something. I'm like, so funny, you guys. You read my stuff, you say something, but only when you don't like it.
Mm.
So come and say something. This is a community thing. This is like, there's no right and no wrong. Say what you want. It's open. Like, I don't discriminate on my website. But if you girls want to write an op-ed on something, and it's like, what, this pisses me off, or this was really good, write it. I'll post it. It's like, it's good. The more the merrier, the bigger the discussion, and so sometimes I sit here and I'm thinking, like, I'm not too sure if people are really reading, or if people are watching, and then I get feedback when I'm out there, or like, how nice of you guys to reach out to me. That was very nice. That really made me happy. So it's nice because it validates what you do. Besides, they're trying to make some sort of money along with it. It kind of validates what you do. So yes, we all need to engage more with each other's content, and we need to come together more as a community, and pull and work for the common goals, and then you reach that by maybe helping Maddie to create a system where she can travel more, and doesn't have to spend so much, or same thing for Holly. Create a system where people say, like, oh, I really like what Mike's doing. Let me donate $20 on an annual base to this, or let me subscribe to the YouTube channel, because at least their YouTube's paying some money. So let me just give a little something, and then I think we all can do greater and better as a whole, and not just like one federation take it all, or one organization take it all, kind of mentality.
Mm. No,
Yes.
you're absolutely right. I think it goes right back to that moment when we started this conversation about it back in the days of print, when print magazines were much more popular. You obviously have to pay for them. Now that everything is online, we expect exactly the same for free. We still want that constant stream of information, but we used to have to pay a few pounds or a few dollars or whatever for it each time, every week or every month. And now a lot of us pay nothing at all for the same information, and, supporting people like yourself by putting a few pennies in, a few coins in here and there. It's not much, like you say, it's coffee money throughout the whole year. But it does make a big difference if we all do that. And I will, or we will, put the link to that in the show notes, to all of your your YouTube, your website, your Facebook, your Instagram, and we will try and encourage as many people as possible to head over and donate, or just put some money towards the stuff that they spend time consuming, and obviously appreciate. It would make your hard work even more appreciated, I'm sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and that's actually a great finish to the beginning, where you were talking about, like where Kyle Lenny goes in his pockets, like, what else do I have to do? What's the next thing? What do I have to do? So I'm not drowning in the sea, and then sponsors are like, well, now it's not special anymore. So we're all kind of in the same, we're all kind of in the same boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Well, it's been so great to have you on the podcast today. We've really enjoyed this chat and definitely learned a lot. And it's been great to have a discussion about the future as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and aloha to everybody. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening to this episode of the Rise and Glide podcast, brought to you by Paddleboarding.
We just have two small things to ask you before you close this episode. The first one, if you enjoyed it, please leave us a rating and a review. It really makes a big difference. And the second one is to go to the App Store and download Paddleboarding today.
We can't wait to see you on the next episode.